only throw and grow seed that you guys should be using. So today I want to talk about a food plot blend that I'm literally going to be using today on one of my farms, and in the future on a lot of my farms in these areas that are a little bit harder to access. And the reality of the situation is, for a lot of you guys, is you don't have the equipment. You don't have the four-wheeler, maybe you don't have the tractor, maybe you don't have the no-till drill, maybe you don't have the tiller, and you need to get the most bang for your buck. And at the end of the day, we're going to get to this in another video, and it's going to be a little bit controversial, but there are certain companies you should not be buying seed from, flat out. I'll say that, because what they're ultimately doing is putting a lot of inert matter in bags and stuff that doesn't grow, okay? And if you guys are trying to get the best throw and grow seed where we're not using the best planting method, at the end of the day, we need to use the best seed so that we get the best germination, because at the end of the day, that germination is what ultimately gives us the better food plot. So for those of you guys who are looking at throwing a food plot down, and maybe you got the four-wheeler, maybe you got a rake, or maybe you got the John Deere lawnmower, and that's how you're going to plant your food plot this year, this is for you. And I'll tell you right now, I have the equipment, and there's still places in which I'm going to use some of these throw and grow products. So the main thing to look for when you are purchasing a throw and grow product, if you don't want to use the one that I'm going to recommend to you today, is something that is super low or lower in inert matter. The problem with a lot of these companies is they like to scam you. That's the reality of it. And they'll put 20, maybe even 30% inert matter into a bag to help them meet that minimum poundage requirement of 4 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever it might be, to ultimately sell you a 10-pound bag or a 25-pound, whatever the bag is supposed to be. But if you do the math in your head and you figure out that 20% of that bag, 30% of that bag, sometimes I think I've seen up to 37% of that bag is not seed because it's inert matter, well, then you're not getting as much seed as you should, ultimately not getting the best bang for your buck. And chances are, if companies are doing that, they're also keeping seed on the shelf for years and years and years, which will mean that it's likely to lose germination rate. So what I've always told people when it comes to food plotting and where to get your seed is always work with small people, small companies, smaller companies, for the most part, that have a high rate of overturn when it comes to, or turnover when it comes to food plot seed, so that it's not sitting on a shelf for 5 years and then getting sold. You know, maybe harvested, put in a bag, and then sold right away. So now that I've given you guys some of the things that I look for if I am going to use a throw and grow or any seed really at all, I'm going to introduce you to the one that I'm using literally today on one of my farms, and honestly on a couple of my farms most likely. The product is called No BS, because it's no BS, okay? It's from Domain Seed, guys, and basically the reason that this is a no BS seed, you know, hence the name, is because you're not dealing with a product with 20-30% inert matter. Now don't get me wrong, there is some seed coating, and seed coating is necessary from time to time, whether it aids in germination or whatever the other factors might be, but it's not like we're looking at 30% inert matter in a canister of this no BS seed from Domain. So the thing that makes this a no BS blend, and another thing that you guys should be looking for when it comes to buying your food plot seed, let's say you don't even buy the no BS from Domain, okay, and you end up going and just looking around and trying to build your own blend or buying a different brand. The one thing that I've noticed is there's not a bunch of ryegrass in this. And at the end of the day, it's a cheap seed. It's an easy way for somebody to fill 50% of their blend with a bunch of really lesser valuable seed, along with 30% inert matter. And pretty soon you got next to nothing growing in your food plot. And although maybe there's a time for like some rye or maybe some wheat or things of those sort, if we think about it, if we have plants that have bigger, broader leaves, that is more forage per acre in that given area. And so I generally recommend for you to stay away from a lot of, especially the ryegrass type stuff. And in this blend, you don't get that. So in this blend, what do you guys actually get? So the first thing that you get is oats. I love planting oats, super attractive in that mid-moderate portion of the season, and even late, but especially in that mid to moderate portion of the season when people struggle to think or wonder, what do I need to hunt over? Okay, so it's got the oats in it. It's got the rapeseed, like that. Also has a crimson clover, and it also has another Balanza clover. So I like the clovers. I like having as much diversity in these blends as possible so that there's early season, middle of the season, and later in the season type food source. So this has radishes in it, and it also has chicory. So a lot of times we don't talk about chicory, guys. That's another plant that creates a little bit more forage per acre. It's a little bit more broadleaf, but still a perennial. And at the end of the day, a lot of these clovers and chicories will come back, and so now we could throw down this no-till blend or these no BS, throw and grow blends. But the nice thing about these type of blends is they're actually going to bounce back the next year, and you're not going to have to come back out there with the rake. You're not going to have to drag the four-wheeler out there, drag the lawn tractor out there to ultimately get your food plot done, guys. We can plant this, and some of the things that are in this will come back ultimately in the future, which means that you're going to have a 3, 4, 5, 6 year food plot if we maintain it and take care of it. And at the end of the day, if we do that, we're probably going to draw some more deer, especially compared to your neighbors who are probably using the lesser brands or the big buck brands with the buck on the package, who are selling people seed with 30% inert matter, amongst other things in that bag, a bunch of ryegrass and a bunch of junk. So at the end of the day, guys, I am literally using this today. We're going to use this on my property. You can plant this numerous times a year, different time periods. We're going to be using this seed because straight up it is no BS, no rapeseed, not a bunch of inert matter, germination rate super high. So at the end of the day, guys, if you're looking for a throw and grow brand that's superior to every other one, check out Domain's No BS.